This time, Italy, 1982. Rossi awakens Italian Renaissance. 'Cause I'll stay a wild rover forever and more. Oh, and welcome to By Far the Greatest Team, a podcast in which football fans attempt the impossible to rank once and for all who is the greatest team of all time. My name is Graham Dunn, making the case for Oxford United at every opportunity. And king of the data, joining me as ever from the distant shores today, it's Jamie Rooney.
Yes, very distant, plus 8 hours. I'm in Japan right now, so it's night time for me and it's morning time for you. That's the first time I think we've achieved that, which is quite nice. And here we are, continuing our 1982 soap opera. It really has become a bit of a soap opera. Our obsession with this World Cup is probably losing us listeners left, right, and centre. But we like the shoulder pads. We like the short shorts. The perms, and now we got Prosecco. Franco's Spain is gone. It's a new Spain. It's a new dawn. It's a new day, and it's 1982 again for us.
Yeah, absolutely. As mentioned, so obviously this is the second half of an unintentional double header. We were hoping to do Brazil and Italy in the same episode, but we got so carried away, right, waxing lyrical about that Brazil 1982 side. We decided to. We ran out of time. So there we go again. And this is now the fifth team from this World Cup that we've done, and we are finally getting around to the winners.
Yeah, congratulations us. Do you know what? The Brazilian one, I was reflecting on this. I haven't had the opportunity to listen to it back just yet. And I felt, even though I enjoyed it, I don't know whether I actually gave any real substance because I was so emotionally connected with that team. I even got my Panini sticker album out to show you the point of when I stopped adding the scores. And I reflected on this afterwards. I'm like, did I just go on some kind of emotional rant and forget that I should be trying to do my best to help inform and give a bit of detail and a bit of stats and facts? I think I failed miserably.
I would say... and there were extenuating circumstances. I mean, I got on a flight an hour and a half after that, but so there were some rules. But that one definitely felt like the closest podcast that we've done, which was just one of our. But just look at Socrates; he's brilliant, rather than anything beyond that. But,
totally swept away with emotion, which I don't think is going to happen with this one. As much as you know, I like I have a soft spot for all things Italian. But when 1982, I guess I didn't like the Italians until the final, if I remember watching it, because I think when they play West Germany, because of Schumacher's tackle on Battiston in the semi-final, that crazy semi-final that finished 3-3, and it's the first game in World Cup history to go to penalty kicks. I think because of that horrible tackle from Harold Schumacher, I think West Germany were public enemy number one, and I think everyone wanted Italy to win.
It is quite interesting. They go from playing Brazil, in which no one wanted Italy to win, and we'll come on to it. Italy had not lit up the tournament up until that point, and Brazil had. So no one wanted them to win. And then, obviously, the moment Brazil went out of the World Cup, everyone switched to France because of that unbelievable midfield. The Tigana, Giresse, Mr. Finesse, Alain Giresse, Michel Platini, just incredible, graceful side, who then go out, as you say, in the worst possible set of circumstances against, I think at best was a pretty rudimental and physical West Germany side, I think you'd say. It is fascinating. They go out on penalties. Schumacher saves the decisive penalty, which is the decisive sixth penalty in what is a 6 penalties per side shootout. So,
is that right?
It is extraordinary. If you watch back that clip, it is 6 penalties aside. And I don't know when they changed it, but that the 1982 first ever World Cup semi-final between France.
It wasn't a sudden death.
No, 6 penalties aside. I know. I had to re-watch the clip again this morning to test myself. But the commentator says it. It's really clear. It's 6 penalties aside. So there's a research point for you. the other great thing about it, and I'll put a link on the socials to the clip. It is fascinating rewatching it because no one knows what to do yet because penalties are a new thing. So if you look at the centre circle, the players are just kind of sat higgledy-piggledy around there, almost together, almost all both teams intertwined. And then there's a great bit beforehand where Alain Giresse gets ready to take the first penalty, and there's, again, I don't even think it's Schumacher messing around. I think it's the referee's not kind of set up properly. And, he's there for ages whilst they're setting everything up. And Giresse just turns his back on him. He just doesn't look at him. It's a fascinating thing. But yes, West Germany will win that penalty shootout. And it means by the time they play Italy, almost by default, Italy have become everyone's favourite team at that tournament. And I suppose it is, well, it's probably worth knowing. So Italy are they're a side with a brilliant football history at World Cups. And it's not like they haven't been to finals, they haven't won stuff, but it's a bit of a barren period they come into this tournament with.
Yeah, I mean, their last World Cup victory would have been in 1938 under the cloud of Mussolini. That would have been their second, and then they go on a bit of a dry period. But this is common with Italy. They're either really hot or they're really cold. And we shouldn't forget, if you hadn't already, that Italy haven't actually qualified for the finals of the last two Men's World Cup. So they're in a group with Norway and Israel right now, vying to qualify for the World Cup finals, and they haven't been to the World Cup finals since 2014. So we just assume they're always there because generally when they are there, they do stake a claim and they have a presence. But they've been on a bit of a barren patch, but then they did have a bit of success in the Euros in the early days, where the Euros was contested with the last four teams in a hosted tournament where the rest of it was groups. And they were quite lucky in 1968, I think, Graham, weren't they?
Yeah, 68. It's a brilliant one. And what's everything about this tournament? I mean, the European Championships before, and it is worth saying, of course, that Italy may not have qualified for the last two World Cups. I mean, they really will have to be going something to fail to qualify for this one. I mean, it's pretty much everyone's in it. But yes, the Euros are sort of very much that was always a smaller tournament. And as you say, there were only four teams. The host of the tournament wasn't decided until they knew who qualified, because so it ends up being played in Italy, but I mean, that's kind of a late decision. One incredible thing, and it should really happen elsewhere, but Group 8 of that, so in the various qualifying groups, Group 8 is England, Scotland, Northern Ireland and Wales. And they're basically the home international tournament they use as the qualifiers, which is brilliant. It's sort of a brilliant idea, as long as you only want one of the host teams, one of the UK teams to get there.
Yeah, it's true. And it's not the first time. It's been done before, where the home nations have been in the same group. And I guess it's geography because, I mean, in 1968, the world is opening up more. Air travel is becoming more of a thing. But obviously, you don't want teams traveling massive distances. So it makes sense to just put this complex country, the United Kingdom, which is one country, but it has four countries, into the same group, because it just makes it easier. And it's probably FIFA thinking, well, sometimes they're in, sometimes they're out. We'll just let them do their thing and we'll let them have one spot, manage them that way.
And this is like a missing tournament, this one. There's very little about it. And I was amazed about it because, of course, this is England's golden generation. I mean, they are World Cup holders. They do qualify. They qualify out of that group. They win there's a sort of a quarter-final game they have to play, and they win that as well. This is the goal scorers, I think, in that game were Hurst and Peters. It's like proper. These are proper. These are proper players. These are legends. So it's really weird to think about this tournament. England qualify, Italy qualify. West Germany qualify, and Russia qualify. England lose to Yugoslavia. Alan Mullery, friend of the podcast, or previously mentioned in the podcast at least, Alan Mullery of the great Brighton Crystal Palace Agnes. He's sent off, becomes the first England player ever sent off in an international during that game. Italy draw with Russia and only progress, because there are no penalty shootouts at this stage, only progress on our old friend the coin toss.
Yeah, it's still in play. We know this from the Gonic Zapsa story, where they were able to overturn Roma to go and play Manchester City in the Cup Winners' Cup. The coin toss is still in play. Penalty kicks didn't really come into a thing until the 1970s. We've covered this before. Yeah, and it's I think it's Facchetti, the captain. He picks the right side of the coin.
So Italy get through to the final. They now bizarrely, it's a very different way of doing a tournament. On this one, they decide that if there's no winner after 90 minutes, they can't give the tournament on a coin toss. So when there's a draw between Italy and Yugoslavia, it goes to a replay. A replay played 2 days later. You just can't. Obviously, this whole tournament's been crowbarred in, and you've gone from, I don't know, something like 90,000 supporters, or 70,000 full house in the first game to 30,000 in this empty Tuesday game. Which Italy win and win the European Championships in 1968, where their goalkeeper at the time and goalkeeper of the tournament, though I would suggest the team of the tournament is perhaps slightly difficult to do. There's only 4 teams in it, but their goalkeeper at the time is none other than Dino Zoff, who is to appear in the 1982 World Cup.
Yeah, I guess back in 1968, he's almost he's probably a seasoned goalkeeper, isn't he? What's he going to be, 26? So, yeah, I mean, it's been around for a few years in Italian football. And I think goes on and plays in the World Cup final in 1970 as well, where Italy actually do lose to Brazil in that version of the two giants meeting each other.
Yeah, and I mean, this would have made more sense when we had Italy and Brazil together as the same episode. But the lines between the two, where you have, the 1970 World Cup, where Italy are the fall guys to Brazil and that amazing side, then it all comes together in this 1982 game. And then kind of by the time Brazil do win the World Cup again, they do it playing a more Italian style of football probably. And Italy are the fall guys again that time. So there's a kind of weird, the two universes are definitely connected. One last thing on the 1968 European Championships, which obviously we aren't here to talk about, but that is the only tournament that West Germany or Germany have attempted to qualify for and failed. And unbelievable, they went out of their group. Yugoslavia qualify out of their group together, and Germany fail because they draw 0-0 with Albania.
Cool, wow, that's something else.
But that's all preamble. We're talking Italy 1982. Now, of course, several things surprised me. I was very surprised to learn that the penalty shootout in 1982 was 6 penalties each.
I'm surprised still to know that.
Yeah, you're not having it, are you? Very surprised to find out that West Germany didn't qualify for the 1968 Euros. But even more shocked to discover that in 1982, Italy is reeling a little bit from a corruption and betting scandal. Italian football betting, so this, I'm just struggling to come to terms with this.
Yeah, Totonero, rotten to the core. One of many Italian betting scandals. Totonero means black betting or betting black. I mean, this goes back to another Euros. Italy were hosting the Euros in 1980. It was the first Euros where you had 8 teams competing. So it's a new format in the evolution of the European Championships. But the Italian public just aren't interested. Their team is a disgrace. There's this betting scandal that's been exploded in Italy, where a couple of restaurant owners, they were colluding with Italian football teams to fix matches in the equivalent of the Italian football pools. A very complicated thing to do. Yeah, we're two restaurant owners in Rome, Massimo Cruciani and Alvaro Trinca, have got together with a bunch of players in the top two Italian leagues, primarily Lazio, AC Milan, and so on and so forth. And they are working out how to fix the football pools. But it doesn't go to plan. So these two guys are giving these players, who I have to say, in 1980s, late 1970s, 1980s Italian football, even top flight, players aren't getting paid a lot of money. So if there's an opportunity to get a few backhanders or brown envelopes, Bruce Grobbelaar style, allegedly, then maybe you're going to be interested in that. So the players are taking the cash to fix these games, so to benefit Cruciani and Trinca and to financially benefit these guys, but it's not working out. And they're losing money. They're losing absolutely hundreds of thousands. I think in equivalent, I think they lost nearly half a $500,000 trying to coordinate this betting scandal. So they basically hand themselves in to the authorities and say, this is what we've been doing, and these are the names of the players, and these are the clubs that have been involved. So this massive scandal in Italy where you've got major Serie A teams and Serie B teams involved, with 30-odd players involved in this betting scandal. So in 1980, when Italy should be very proud to host the Euros, this 1980 Euros, go and have a look at it. It's the darkest period in European football history. The attendances are ridiculously low. There's trouble between Belgium and England. This is the period where English football is finding its way into the murky world of hooliganism. And the Italian public just aren't interested because of what's been going on in this betting scandal. And one of those players that's linked to this and has been convicted of it, although he denied it, was Paolo Rossi. Now, Paolo Rossi played in the 78 World Cup. Enzo Bearzot liked Paolo Rossi. And in 1982, when Italy go into the World Cup, there's a low expectation. And Bearzot is sticking to his man, Rossi, who has just finished his ban and is available for selection. He hasn't played for 2 years. And he gets picked into the Azzurri. He's in the squad. And the public are saying, what the fudge, Enzo? What the fudge?
Yeah, he's taking a lot of flack for sticking with his misfiring striker, and definitely true that Italy's progress through the group stages is underwhelming. So 3 draws, and it's not a difficult group really. They got Poland, and it is a good Poland side. They got Zygmunt Boniek at that stage. It goes on to after this World Cup to star for Juve. Poland are a strong outfit. Peru, we obviously discussed them a couple of weeks ago. Never as strong outside of Latin America, has to be said. And Cameroon in their first outing at a World Cup. Italy successfully draw all 3 games. He scored 2 goals. Dictionary definition of scraping through. They go through in second place by virtue of having scored a goal more. And it's extraordinary how these tiny twists of fate, isn't it? Italy draw every game without winning, go on to become the first team to do that and win the World Cup. And Cameroon must almost be the first team to draw every game and go out unbeaten. There's probably others that had happened.
Yeah, a good point on the Cameroon one. I haven't checked that actually. You're probably right. But yeah, Italy are the first team ever in World Cup history at this point in 1982 to not win a game and qualify for the next phase, whatever that phase is going to be, because FIFA has a way of surprising us. And the second phase in this edition, and it was the final time it was used, is the second group phase, as we discussed last week, as we discussed with Northern Ireland, as we discussed with England, as we discussed with Algeria. So anyone who's been listening to our podcast, thank you, first and foremost. You're familiar with the group stage of 1982, the second group stage of 1982, because we've covered this a few times. 3 teams and 3 giants in a incredible group of death.
Yeah, so Argentina and Brazil. And it's the Brazil game that gets the headlines, and that's where the romance and bits and pieces are. But I think the foundations and the groundwork and where things really starts to come together are in that
Yeah,
Argentina game.
it is, and it's probably worth saying though the feeling back in Italy with this team is getting worse and worse. There was a bad feeling about the team coming into the tournament. They failed to win a football match. Enzo Bearzot, the coach, is still picking Paolo Rossi. Paolo Rossi at this point couldn't hit a barn door from 2 yards. His form is just not doing the things that Bearzot is put his faith in. And the Italian media is absolutely all over this. And what Enzo Bearzot does, he goes into that kind of seized mentality mode. He closes the door. He stops talking to the press. He stops his players talking to the press. Silenze stampa. No one talks. No one talks. So essentially, he's got his group of players that he's got faith in, and he's kept them behind closed doors as they go into this group of death where the Italian media and quite possibly the Italian population are thinking, we're going to get battered by Argentina. They've got Maradona. And that Brazil team, they're scoring goals for fun. I mean, they play football in a way that we can only dream of playing football. This is going to be an absolute national embarrassment. And it's probably worth pointing out, Italy was already in a dark place in terms of identity at this point. You know, recent history with terrorism, that there's a big north-south divide where you don't mix politics and things like that. So there's a real bad feeling about being Italian right now, going into this World Cup in 1982. So this group phase is not, although some people in Italy would have been happy that Italy had progressed, they won't be happy with the circumstances, how they progressed, and they're probably feeling a bit crap about being an Italian because of everything that's preceded it to this point.
Yeah, I mean, it is worth saying, we'll touch upon this in the second half, but, you know, Italy have been suffering from I think it's called the years of lead, isn't it? That this generation from like 1969, and it doesn't resolve immediately afterwards, but from pretty much there is a bit of a line from this World Cup onwards of an improvement. But there are, you know, major terrorist attacks. The Bologna massacre, I think, is the biggest one from 1980, as kind of left and right extremists battle it out there. So it's a really dark period for Italy off the pitch. It's pretty bad on the pitch, and it's pretty bad in the bookmakers. So it's not looking any good on any aspect. And as you say, they really hunker down. And you have to credit the Italy manager, Bearzot, isn't it?
He's a Bearzot, yeah.
For sticking to his guns.
Pipe smoker. Smokes a pipe. He's like Popeye, but without the spinach muscles. How many football managers do you know that smoke a pipe? I mean, he's in a category of less than 2, right?
Yeah, definitely. And obviously, I can't once again talk about the look and feel of this World Cup, but if you do want to fall in love with anything, the white tracksuit that Bearzot wears in this is just so unbelievably stylish. I can't remember which game it's in, or whether it was for all of them. I've seen some photos of him in this, the most stylish 1982 white Italian tracksuit you could wish to find.
It's a really good point. I mean, Italians do style wherever all the time anyway. It's something they've always been the masters of. But you're right, this World Cup, I know we love it a bit too much, but it's very cinematic. The whole World Cup is purely cinematic in terms of its feel, in terms of its characters, the backdrop. You've got this Kuwaiti sheikh running on the pitch against France to saying, no, that's not a goal. That's not a goal. You can't give that goal, referee. And the referee goes, I think you got a point, Mr. Sheikh. Yeah, I won't give that goal. And chalks it off. I mean, where else in the world does this happen? This is pure cinema. And everything else we talked about with Kevin Keegan's flicky perm and Jerry Armstrong's a beautiful goal against Spain and the disgrace of Gijón. This is cinema. It looks cinematic. Everything in it is cinematic.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, if it is cinematic, I think it's fair to say that Claudio Gentili's marking of Diego Maradona is not PG. That might be more 18.
Yeah, I mean, that adults only, isn't it?
X plus.
Yeah, it really is. I mean, Gentili kicks Diego Maradona into 1983, I think.
Yeah, I mean, it's a clear attack. They've identified player they have to stop, and it is the tightest marking that you can find, and it worked. They nullify the threat. I think I can't remember where I read it. I couldn't find a repeat of it, but almost that FIFA had to change the rules after this after this display. It was almost, so much, because I think there was nothing you could, Gentili didn't step over the line, but it was pretty tight marking.
Yeah, it's physical. And to Maradona's credit, though, he takes it and he just dusts himself down. He gets on with it. It's the genius of the man. He accepts that this is part of the game. I'm a special player, therefore I'm going to get special treatment. And Claudio Gentili definitely gives him the special treatment.
And that sort of defensive resilience they kind of really lean into. So I think that's the stage at which you can afford to, without the onus to go and make something happen, without the requirement to set the pace, it kind of really fits this. And it is that siege mentality that you talk about. And, having nullified Argentina, Italy are able then to think a little bit more about going forward. And Marco Tardelli scores, and I think Cabrini scores. This, by the way, and I know this isn't a thing because they are all the Italian players, but it's the most Italian-sounding team there's ever been. It's just brilliant. Every name rolls off the tongue gloriously.
Yeah, the brilliant number 9 as well, the playmaker up front, Giancarlo Antonelli, which is a beautiful name. He sadly gets injured in the very last stages and misses out on the World Cup final. I think it's worth talking about Bearzot's team just a little bit, because we can stereotype Italian football, and Catenaccio in the 60s and the 70s definitely lends itself to that stereotype. But Bearzot was a bit more pragmatic when we talked about Graham Taylor in terms of balancing the kind of direct football with the creativity. Bearzot's doing the same. He's solid in defence and he's flexible with his tactics. Sometimes it's 3 at the back with a sweeper. Sometimes it's 4 at the back. He will change his shape. Sometimes it's 3 in midfield. Sometimes it's 4 in midfield. But they are quite attacking, even in the group stage against Peru and Poland and Cameroon. They are creating chances. There is an attacking idea to this team. And Antonelli, the number 9, who plays in that kind of deep role. He is the playmaker. He's very creative. And he's so important to this team in terms of their creative juices.
Yeah, and I think Bruno Conti is an absolute star in this. As the tournament progresses, he kind of steps more into it. But another kind of dazzling, energetic, wide wingers performance throughout the whole thing. It finishes 2-1. Daniel Passarella, who we've previously mentioned as a specialist goal-scoring centre-back, scores with a specialist centre-back free kick. Another of those great ones.
Beautiful free kick. I mean, Zoff doesn't even move. He's grounded. And
he's trying to take it from about 80 yards, isn't it?
Yeah, it's just this beautiful left foot, and it's hit kind of almost away from the wall and Zoff. It's not a bender, it's not a curler. It's almost like a dart light into the left hand side of the goal when Zoff's on the right hand side. Zoff's kind of complaining about something. I mean, the fact is, you've just been beat by a worldie, mate.
Yeah, I love it when something comes together, and we previously referenced Passarella scoring goals from a large, very one of the highest scoring centre backs taking free kicks, and that's a beauty. And as we discussed on last week's pod, this of course means that when Brazil beat Argentina 3-1 in the next game, that Brazil hold all the trump cards when it gets to the crunch game with Italy. Now, we're not going to talk hugely about this game again because we talked about it a lot in last week's podcast. Obviously, it is one of the greatest games played, but this is where Paolo Rossi, the man who, I was going to say sleptwalk, but actually I think it's a better description. I put it in blog that I've done, that he's hungover. He's like somebody who's hungover, and he's suddenly, whether he's had the cooked breakfast or hair of the dog or whatever, but something kicks him into life, and that Brazil game kicks him back into life, doesn't it?
Yeah, I mean, he's a big-time player, Paolo Rossi. I mean, he scored 3 goals in the 1978 World Cup, and he was very important for Bearzot then. We shouldn't forget, he hasn't played football for 2 years. So, he's had a month or so leading into the World Cup finals. And I think Bearzot is sensible enough to realise this, that he needs game time, he needs minutes, and he trusts him, and he picks him every single game. So we're now at game 5 for the Italians in this tournament that is slowly now growing in belief because they've just beaten Argentina, which means they're in a strong position if they can get something against Brazil. They're in the semi-finals. And Rossi's still being picked. And I think Enzo Bearzot realizes that this guy's going to come good. He's got blind faith, or he genuinely believes he's going to come good. He just needs a bit of game time. And yeah, we talked about it last week. It's probably the most beautiful football match that's ever been played, and it's always worth watching the full version, which you can on YouTube, and I'd recommend anyone to do it. If you've got a spare 90 minutes, you're not going to be disappointed, just for the cinematic beauty in Socrates, as we kind of waxed lyrical about before. But I mean, we talked last week about the depth of the brilliant Brazilian game and how they played with this art, this creativity, and what is known to be Brazilian beautiful football. And they then, after this game, they decided we need to be more pragmatic, and that pragmatism came into the game to the point where we were bored to tears in the 1994 World Cup final when Brazil won it on penalty kicks. Now, it's a strange dynamic because Italy, as we've discussed, have been struggling to be proud of themselves as Italians. So this game takes both teams in slightly different directions. There's a different feeling about being Italian after this game. And Paolo Rossi, for everyone who's been lambasted him not to play, the press and the public, now everyone wants him to play every single minute of every single game.
Yeah,
we're a fickle bunch, aren't we? We're so fickle.
Yeah, no, definitely so. The other thing, it's interesting looking back at Paolo Rossi's career as well, because he doesn't play that much. Now, I know it's two seasons that are taken out, but he plays like 250 club games, 48 internationals. I mean, he scores 100 odd goals in 250 games, 20 goals in 48 international appearances. You know, he's a consistent scorer, but he also ends up playing. Probably plays half his games for Juventus, but actually he's playing for, not necessarily legends of the Italian game. So he's at Perugia when the ban kicks in. There's this weird period where only in Italy, but he's jointly owned by Juventus and Vicenza. I have to say, I just haven't had time or opportunity to really dig into what was going on with his career. But it's a very odd pattern of play, and it's very interrupted, and it's quite stop-start in nature for lots of different reasons. But when he gets going, he is unbelievable, and he is a natural finisher. And I think Bearzot describes him as he's my finisher. That's it, and that's what he brings to the party. And you look at all the goals he scores. They're all poachers kind of goals, aren't they?
Yeah, they really are. I mean, it's a question of timing, and that's what makes great number 9s. That's what makes great strikers. Gary Lineker won the Golden Boot from scoring, in a combined total of his 6 goals, probably no more than 5 meters. The total distance from the way he struck the ball, where the ball is, for all his 6 goals. But it doesn't matter. It's a sense of timing. You have to do that hardest thing, and that's score goals. Scoring goals in football is the hardest thing to do. And Paolo Rossi is able to do that, and he's able to do that in the biggest showpiece of this World Cup.
So Paolo Rossi has woken up. Italy are about to fulfill their destiny, and we'll talk more about how they do that after the break.
Do you have a team in mind that you'd like us to cover? Well, just don't keep it to yourself. Let us know. You can get in touch with us across the socials on X or Blue Sky. Graham is at Said and Done, and I am at Couch Pundito. That's on X and formerly known as Twitter, and also on Blue Sky. Remember, greatness isn't just the big and famous. We love a cult classic, and we love a good underdog story too. And also, watch this space. Some new channels coming your way.
So welcome back. We are looking at Italy 1982. The final part, I really genuinely don't think we're going to do another side from the 1982 World Cup. Although, obviously, I'm quite tempted to do the French.
Oh, really?
I like that team. I did love that team. But
I think I preferred the 86 version.
Yeah. Plus,
The old
also,
batting goal, Platini with the socks rolled down,
yeah,
John Tigana. I don't know, maybe they were all in the 82 version as well, and I've kind of like blended my memory of that team. But yeah, I did like that team. Michel
we,
Platini was a bit of a hero for me growing up, actually. Absolutely adored him.
I think we've probably covered everything there is to cover in France through Brian Robson's goal after 20 seconds and the Battiston foul. But yes, we are on Italy and their march to the final now. In the semi-final, it does seem a bit weird to me. They played Poland again, and I think this says something about the slightly strange format of this tournament. It's not a disaster, but it seems weird to play a team that you've already played in the group before the final. And I don't think there'd be a way that would happen now, probably.
Yeah, it's happened. It has happened. I think I think I remember in 2002, I'm doing this off the top of my head, Brazil played Turkey in the group stage, and then Brazil played Turkey in the semi-final stage. Maybe you're right. Maybe now they try to split it. How they're going to do that next season with next year? Sorry, with 48 teams. I can't remember how many groups.
Next season, aren't they playing home and away?
Oh God, I just don't know how I feel about 48 teams in the World Cup. I just don't know how I sound like I'm an old man out of touch, really. I liked it at 32 teams, and yeah, I mean, it could be it's going to be a great spectacle, and but yeah. Why don't we just make it 64 and, run it through the whole of June and July and maybe a little bit of August, and just, do that every year. Forget about club football. Let's just do international World Cups. Make it 128 teams.
Yeah, why not? Yes, they play Poland again. Boniek is suspended, which is quite a significant loss for them. And Italy have found their mojo by this point. And Paolo Rossi is very much warming to his task. So he scores 2 more goals in this game. So, as you say, having gone from Italian public enemy number 1, he is now the absolute hero of this side.
Yeah, Gentili's missing for Italy. So the man
Did he
who's
pick up a yellow card?
I can't imagine. Could he got suspended? I'm not sure. Yeah, so they do, and it means that Enzo changes shape again. So he's gone for 4 at the back in this particular game. I think Boniek played in the group game against Italy when it finished goalless. So you could argue his presence was enough to make the Italians focus on other parts of the football pitch where he may be in operation. And not playing in the semi-final possibly frees up, and maybe that's what Bearzot was for. We can be a bit more, put more men in midfield in this game because the great Boniek isn't playing, so we don't have to deploy a sweeper. We're also missing Gentili, who's one of our key players, so it means he can vary the tactic. But yeah, I mean, Paolo Rossi again, both goals come inside the 6-yard box, one in the first half, one in the second half. One's a header. And I think his second goal, when he heads it, it's almost like he's on his knees. He's definitely falling to his knees.
Yes, yeah.
It looks like he's literally on his knees as he heads it in, which is an incredible thing to do, really.
No, it is. So Italy find themselves back in the World Cup final, 1982, 12 years since they were last there against Brazil, and they are playing West Germany. The game's in Madrid, isn't it? In the
Santiago Bernabéu.
And this is a big occasion for Italy. Obviously, haven't got to the World Cup, and they have a guest who comes to watch the game. Makes his first appearance at a World Cup, and well, you're quite taken with. It's not somebody I was familiar with, but President Pertini. Is he president?
Yeah. Sandro Pertini is the president of the Democratic Republic of Italy. He's a bit of a grandfather type character.
I mean, he's in his 80s by this point, isn't he? I mean, by the time he becomes president, he's lived a life. He's done kind of all sorts of things, and is really widely respected, and has the wisdom of elders. I think probably having seen everything Italy has been through, and it just sort of
I don't think all presidents that are in or nearly in their 80s have the wisdom of elders. potentially are still as dumb as the day they were born.
Yeah, no, this is definitely true.
There we go. Football politics.
Go on.
If you think back to 38, the last time Italy, not the last time, because they're in the World Cup final in 1970. So when they won the World Cup in 1938, Mussolini is very much a presence in the stadium, and national identity is very much on the agenda of what Mussolini is pressing. And that's not the case with Pertini. He's there to, I think, obviously to score political points. It's obvious he's going to have people in his team that would say you need to be there. We need to make sure the camera is on you when there's an opportunity for you to show yourself in the stadium. But I think the two similarities end there. I think they're very different situations. It's worth pointing out, going into the final, though, we should really have a special mention for another man who is benefiting from the Italians beating the Brazilians, and that's the man from Brazil, Arnaldo Cesar Collier, the referee. He's from Brazil, and he becomes the very first non-European to referee a men's World Cup final. Oh, World Cup final at this point, because the Women's World Cup doesn't really start until 91 unofficially, although we had that one in 71 with the Danes. But you know what I mean. So we've got a Brazilian who, I wonder if he fought when, I don't know, penny for his thoughts, eh? The national team of Brazil's gone out, the nation's mourning. Is he kind of thinking, well, I might still be here for another week or two. There's an opportunity to pick up another. I might get a semi-final. I might get the final. No, I suppose it's not all bad that Brazil lost to Italy.
Well, yes, as well. We've done. I think we were meant to be in those many tournaments when England had been dumped out halfway through, are meant to suddenly take some pride that Graham Poll is officiating one of the games. So yes, I'm not sure, but yes, so there is a Brazilian man in the middle for this one. Italy v West Germany. As to say, this West Germany, it'd be unfair to cast them entirely. They do have some clever. I think Pierre Barski's playing for them, who was again another glorious player to watch. I think they've got Horst Rubesch, who we have previously mentioned, big target man, forward, and Elise Stieler and Paul Breitner. It's not necessarily the most flair team that's ever come, and because of that Schumacher tackle, by the time we get to Italy, West Germany, there's no question where the neutral is thinking, and they've started to fall in love with this Italy and Paolo Rossi. Italy miss a penalty, don't they? They get a penalty which Brini misses. Amazing that Rossi isn't taking it, actually, to be fair.
Yeah, that's a good point. Maybe it wasn't the penalty taker. I mean, who knows what was going on between the changing room in terms of if we get a penalty. If you go back to 1982, it's a period of time we don't know what was decided, but it could be that the players just make the decision at the moment on the pitch, and that would have been normal back then. Now, obviously, there's dedicated penalty takers and reserve penalty takers and reserve penalty takers, and even further back than that. And sometimes you get players snatching the ball off each other, in the case of Nicholas Jackson, and because they want to take the penalty and they're not the penalty taker, and Cole Palmer should be taking the penalties.
I think there was a democratization of penalty taking back in that day. So certainly in the 1980s, fullbacks took a remarkable number of penalties. Fullbacks were often your specialists. Phil Neal for Liverpool, and Julian Dix and Stuart Pearce and David Peach. It's like a whole string of...
Yeah, Andres Bremner in the 1990 final.
Yes, of course.
Fullback taking the winning penalty. Stuart Pearce.
It kind of makes some sense that you
know... Ellis Irwin. Yeah, this is a real thing, isn't it? Oh, my God.
It definitely was. Lee Dixon. There are lots of... did Lee Dixon take penalty? I think he did. Fullbacks taking penalties was definitely a thing back in the day, and I don't quite know when that. So I think that era where you had, your star striker automatically takes the penalties because he's like the best player in the team, wasn't a thing back in the 80s. But it does seem weird if a man scored 5 goals in the last 2 games, gets a chance of a penalty, and he doesn't take it. It doesn't stop Rossi. He does get Italy's first goal in the second half. Goal number 6.
Yep. He's already secured the golden boot in theory. I mean, obviously, someone could score a bag of goals in the final, but he's pretty much secured it after his 2 goals against Poland. So in 2 games, he scored 5 goals, and that's enough to secure him the golden boot going into the final.
But it's quite odd to play 7 games, not score in the first 4, and then score 6 goals in the last 3 games. It's a really weird situation.
Kind of Lineker didn't do it as late as that in '86. Lineker,
but it would have been a hat trick against Poland, wouldn't it? It would have been
hat trick against Poland, 2 against Paraguay, and 1 against Argentina, I think. Yeah.
So when people get on a streak, that's when it kind of happens. That Paolo Rossi goal, though, is not one that you see a great deal of. In fact, you see very little from that final other than goal number 2, and not even, actually, you don't that often see Marco Tardelli's finish. You see the celebration, and it's the most iconic. I think it is the most iconic World Cup, even more iconic than Gordon Strachan trying to
jump over the board. The sponsorship board. Yeah, I mean, Tardelli, he's just adding to my point that this is the most cinematic World Cup ever. This is, again, pure. I mean, the scream, the raw, feral, unrehearsed emotion. It's almost like the nation's exorcism of emotion that's coming out of Tardelli, the way he's screaming. But it's not just the celebration, which is fantastic, and nothing is going to top that. It's the build-up. Italy are doing 1-2s in the German penalty area in the build-up to that goal. They're playing calm, assured, passing football inside the German penalty box in order to create space.
Yeah, well, the only bad bit of football with it is Tardelli's first touch, which means he scores
away from him.
Essentially with a tackle.
It kind of takes it away from him, and then he's stretching.
It's a great hit. It is. I can't watch that goal enough. But every time it comes to me, you think, hang on, you've definitely pushed it too far, and so he has to really wrap his foot around it, and he's kind of stretching as it goes in. Maybe that contributes to his emotional roller coaster of having scored, because after that touch, he probably doesn't expect to.
No, I mean, God, what is going through his head? I mean, I like to think because the emotion just becomes more and more expressive as he's, arms flung, running away, almost welling up with tears. And I think the realization is hitting him that he's just scored the goal that's going to win the World Cup for Italy. Even saying that out loud is putting the hairs on the back of my neck up. Yeah. Because it's such an incredible and unique. There's only a few men and women that have been in that situation. And there he is, scoring the second goal, the critical goal in a World Cup final that almost cements Italy's victory. Cue the TV director in the studio. Let's cut to the stands.
Yeah, absolutely. And this is where your man Pettini comes in.
Yeah, Sandro Pettini, centre in the frame. Like a sweet old man standing. I think he's the only one standing, and he's waving, and he's screaming, and it's almost like he is doing what every single. And I think 95% of Italians watch this game on television, which is extraordinary. I mean, this would have been a nation of around about 45, 50 million back in 1982. I don't know. I'm just doing that off the top of my head. 95%. And there you have the president who is one of them. I'm doing exactly what you're doing. But it's a significant moment for Italy in terms of the football team, but it's a very significant moment in terms of what Italy is going to become after the pictures of President Sandro Pertini celebrating like the common woman and common man in Italy.
And there's a lot of great imagery from this, Tardelli's celebration. I think Dino Zoff lifting the trophy is another, keepers as captains. I mean, it does happen, but it's pretty. He must be the first Well, this is too much for tactical. He must be the first keeper to lift a World Cup winning captain. What do you reckon?
No, Italy done it before. So in 19, I can't remember if it's 38 or 34. I think it's 34. Gianpiero Combi was a goalkeeper for Juventus. And he lifted the World Cup. Dino Zoff isn't even the last goalkeeper to do it. He's not even the penultimate keeper to do it.
Yeah,
It's been done by 4 goalkeepers. One of them, can you believe this? One of those World Cup winning goalkeepers that lifted the World Cup was playing at the time for Tottenham Hotspur.
I was going to say Hugo Lloris. It's scary, isn't it?
Tottenham Hotspur's goalkeeper is lifting the World Cup. I mean, fantastic.
Well, he wouldn't have been getting any silverware lifting practice at Spurs back in those days. Obviously, it's completely different now, unfortunately.
Yeah, unfortunately it is. Yeah, 4 goalkeepers. Iker Casillas is the 4th, just to complete the set. He lifted the World Cup for Spain in 2010. Yeah, it's quite incredible, isn't it? 4 goalkeepers. Yeah. Zoff was the oldest, though, by quite some distance.
The bit I find most extraordinary about that, at age 40, Dino Zoff wins the World Cup for Italy 14 years after Italy's last trophy. But he doesn't retire. He carries on playing, doesn't it? It's not like that is his last. I just can't understand any circumstances where you would get down from that moment and think, oh, do you know, let's get into the qualifying group for the European Championships in 1984. So I think he carries on for another 3-4 games, doesn't he?
Yeah, I mean, a fair play to him. When you're, he looked after, even to when he was manager of Italy, he was still in fairly good health. He seemed to be, clearly a man who looked after himself. But he's playing in goal. I mean, let's be honest, it's not the most energetic position, is it? Really?
Well, there is that. You dug out a nice stat, I thought, which I very much liked. So Zoff is the first of 6. You explain the fact. It's on a run of Serie A players who lift the World Cup.
Yeah, it's pretty incredible. So in 1982, Dino Zoff lifts the World Cup. He is playing for Juventus in Italy, Serie A at the time. In 1986, Diego Maradona lifts the World Cup. He is playing for Napoli in Serie A. In 1990, Lothar Matthäus wins and lifts the World Cup for West Germany. He's playing for Inter Milan in Serie A. Dunga breaks the cycle. He's playing for VfB Stuttgart in 94. And then we're back to Didier Deschamps in 1998. He is playing for Juventus in Serie A. And then we've got Cafu, who lifts the World Cup for Brazil in 2002. He's playing for AS Roma in Serie A in Italy. And then finally, we've got Italy winning the World Cup again in 2006. And Fabio Cannavaro, who is also playing for Juventus in Serie A. Yeah, so 6 Serie A players in the space of 7 World Cups lift the World Cup as winning captain.
And they are but 1 penalty away from it being 7. Because, of course,
that is so true.
Dunga wins it, but if not, it's Italy. Wow. It's probably Baresi, is it? Or Maldini?
Yeah. Maldini, Baresi. Yeah, probably is Baresi, actually. Oh, that's great. Yeah, well played. Yeah. I like that. Wow.
1 penalty away from that fact being 7. So it's a good fact, but it could have been even better. So Italy do win. Alessandro Altobelli gets a 3rd goal. Breitner gets a consolation, but this is Italy's day. Everything is set up for this. And so the story's born, and Italy is both from a footballing side and a societal side. I think Italy are revived and re-energized after this. The Italian game, definitely. I mean, it goes on to, I think, the 1980s. If not at a national level, then certainly the Italian game in the Italian league, which is Serie A, ridiculously established, but these are potentially the glory years of it.
Yeah, I think this is... We talked about it with Steve Double when we talked about England 1990. They came so close to the final, but they didn't. But it changed the course of English football, and we saw the birth of the Premier League. 1982 does something very similar for Italy, because England came out of a dark period with hooliganism, and the Premier League is established. Now, Italy, they've had a really dark period nationally, and they're very embarrassed, or they're not as proud as they could be or should be to be Italian. That changes. There's this thing called the Patini myth, and there's been studies done on it, and there's been papers written on it. And as you've already rightly mentioned, Serie A becomes, over the course of the next 4 or 5 seasons, the greatest football league in world football at that moment, and that continues right through to probably the mid 1990s, late 1990s, when the Premier League then starts to take over on that sense. But yeah, in 1982, I think because we've got Patini celebrating, I think he connected with the people so well that the people of Italy could feel proud to be Italian. They could put the tricolour on their shirts. They could they could fly their flag, and they could fly their flag because of not of the nationalism that you would have had with Mussolini, but maybe the nationalism of Garibaldi, the father of Italy, the guy who brought all of the regions together into one. So I think it changes Italian culture, 1982, and it creates a new Italy is born from this victory. And I think that's because of the success of the team. Clearly, that does a lot of, when your football team wins, you're happy, things progress in a positive way, but also the image of the president as well on TV, just being one of the people.
Yeah, there's definitely a journey that Italy goes on. Italian football is on the up. Italian economic prosperity. This is a strong period in the 80s there. And they put behind them the dark old days of football corruption and betting scandals.
But that's the thing; it's a redemption story. Italy 1982 is a redemption story. They've gone in a dark place and they've fully redeemed it. And you've got Patini; he's like the moral protagonist of this completion of this redemption story. The Azzurri is a place where you can feel proud. Yeah, it's a good story. It is a good story.
I noticed you didn't bite at my betting scandals.
No, I just went straight into the moral protagonist just to kind of deflect away from it. I mean, I'm so accustomed to them now.
So we should get to ranking this team. And the ranking, now this is one I haven't actually thought about it, but I have been thinking about the potential corner that we have boxed ourselves in from last week's ranking. So, of course, we have 5 categories of greatness, from all-time greats at the top, true greats, edge of greatness, and then blink of greats. Now, we have ranked several of these teams. I don't know if you have all the rankings of those teams close to hand from the 1982 World Cup, or can do them from memory. Northern Ireland.
Algeria, we had as edge. I'm doing this from memory. England, 82, I think we had edge. And I think Northern Ireland, we put as touch.
I think we might have had them as touch.
May have been edge. Yeah.
But all 3 of those teams we had in the tier 3 or below.
Yes.
The team that got to the quarterfinals, Brazil, we maybe got a bit carried away in the moment, and we have places all-time greats. And I stand by that, but that leaves us with the question of where you put the team that actually won the tournament, Italy. What do you think, Jamie?
Well, I think it's great that you're standing by it, and I stand with you to stand by it. Brazil, 1982, all-time greats, and we'll see if they crop up in our end-of-season relegation promotion party from whichever guess we very carefully select. So let's put Italy 82, Brazil 82 side by side. They play in this incredible, beautiful game, but they're very different in terms of what they are, but they create segues in terms of their football futures. Brazil were very artistic. Their expression, its flair, its joy, but it's fragile. Italy, craftsman, discipline, belief, survival, that tenacity. Brazil wanted to make the game beautiful. Italy just wanted to make it count. What's more important? You've got to ask yourself that question. I think Italy are beautiful, and there is a beauty in this redemption story in terms of where they are, and there's a beauty in Paolo Rossi in terms of his redemption story. And there's also the beauty in this incredible World Cup. I think for very different reasons, both of these teams are all-time greats in my mind. And I'm going to put Italy 1982 side by side with Brazil 1982 as an all-time great.
I think this side, cinematically, And narratively, are all-time greats. That's definitely true. The Marco Tardelli iconic look, that goal in itself. But you're essentially talking about, you could say 4 games. The Gentili defensive masterclass in silencing Maradona, but you're looking at just 3 games of greatness, of which the Poland game no one really remembers. So this is almost based on 2 games, 2 games achievement. Is that enough to get this Italy to all-time greats? What is definitely true is this is the best Italian side ever, isn't it? This is the closest to an all-time greats Italian side for me.
Yeah, it's a really good question. I think if you compare the 4 World Cups that Italy have won, the 34 and the 38 go back to an era where football is just finding itself, and the 38 and even the 34 to a degree is kind of played under the backdrop of fascism, which is going on in Italy right then. And then you got this one in 82, and then you got the 2006 where Italy win in Germany and spoil the party for the host. I think, based on my very, very limited cultural understanding of spending a bit of time in Italy, people review the 82 team. They see the 82 team. Even the people that can't even remember it see it as the greatest Italian team of all time. Some will say 2006, but a lot of people will go to 82. So yeah, I think that's a fair label. And there was a thing of beauty to this team. You know, they weren't all catenaccio. They did try to play with a little bit creative flair, but they made sure that they kept it tight. But, you know, was it that tight? They conceded 6 goals in 7 games.
Yeah, so it is difficult. I would probably be leaning to true greats. You're an all-time great. I think for Bruno Conti, I will allow the creeping up, and I say because he was an absolutely beautiful player. So I think we put them up there, and we'll sort it all out in the end of season relegation promotion thing, and 1 or 2 of those sides will probably get bumped down. But we say Italy 1982, all-time greats.
So I have a confession.
Go on.
I didn't want to share this stat with you until we did the ranking. So I like to think it's too late now, although that hasn't always been the case in these things.
Anything you say may be used as evidence against you in the end of season promotion relegation battle.
Yeah, I am completely clear on that, and that's why I feel I need to come clean. So I did a bit of number crunching of all of the World Cup winners in the history of the men's game. And I did it on the basis of a win ratio, and I also did it on a points per game ratio, based on the idea that it was 3 points for a win, no matter what era you played in, just to kind of keep it level and balanced. So Italy's win ratio in 1982 was 57.1%, which is the equal lowest win ratio with Argentina, who won it in 2022. 4 games they won, both of those teams, Italy in 82, Argentina in 2022. 4 games out of 7. And if I was to do 3 points for a win, Italy would have taken 15 points in total. So that's an average of 2.1 points per game. It's a good average. You know, most Football League teams would take that. They're not the worst. Argentina are 2.0. So officially, you can't even say this Italian team is the worst team statistically to win the World Cup in the men's game. That's Argentina, who won the World Cup in 2022. They are officially the worst team statistically to win the World Cup, not Italy.
There we go. Well, it's definitely been, everything about this World Cup is heart over head, I think. But I think we are probably finally done with the 1982 World Cup. I feel that 1986 is looming around the corner, and there's plenty of
Oh my gosh.
to that.
Give me the Great Danes. Denmark 86. That's going to happen. That's going to happen, isn't it? You know what, though, Graham? Even though we are saying we're drawing a line under returning to 1982 World Cup, we might be returning back to a team we've already done at some point in the very near future. Is that true?
Yes. So we should say we've had a little run where it's just been you and me. It's not that we've fallen out
Yes.
with our guests. Whilst you've been on the road, it's been a bit more challenging to get stuff in. But we have a very special podcast coming up. We are about to have our 100th episode, and we are going to return to one. I think probably just one. We 100% decided the format, but we're going to return to a side that we have previously covered in our earlier iterations whilst we were covering sides in about 15 minutes or so. I think we will be back for our special 100th episode with a look at Nottingham Forest 1978. I think it is 78, 79. Which year did they win? That whole era. We are going back to Brian Clough's Nottingham Forest. So we will be back next week with our special 100th episode.